everybody, my name is Amanda and welcome to my kitchen. And today we are doing something very exciting because today we are going to cook 3 different recipes using the same main ingredient, and that is the aubergine, and is actually really tasty, really easy to cook with. So I've got all my ingredients laid out here, I've got my recipes, and today we are cooking 1 aubergine and tomato grill, we are cooking 1 Italian style stuffed aubergines, and we are also cooking, let's see, we are making a Moroccan aubergine and chickpea salad. So without further ado, let's get cooking.
The first thing for the first recipe is just to put the oven on 220 degrees Celsius, and then we start cutting the first aubergine. And the thing you do first is cut it in half, and then you cut about 1 centimeter in from the skin in order for you to be able to scoop the meat of it out. And it's easier said than done, and it takes some effort. You'll get there eventually, I did at least, and if I can, you certainly can too. Just scoop it out with a spoon and leave about 1 centimeter clear from the skin. Make sure that you of course don't throw out the inside of the aubergine. Put it in a jar or something for use later. And after you have scooped out all of the inside, you just want to take some olive oil and drizzle over the 2 halves. Just use a little brush or something to coat them evenly, and after some seasoning you put on some tin foil and put it into the oven. While those are in the oven to get a bit more tender, you then begin to chop up the rest of the meat, or the inside that's from the aubergines. Just do that very roughly and put it back in the jar. And then I also very awkwardly slice an onion and a few tomatoes as well, which you can't apparently see in this video. But then in a pan with some olive oil, you start to fry the onion until it's soft and cooked through and a bit golden as well. And then you slowly add in the aubergine meat, as I'll proceed to call it, and just let that cook for a while until the aubergine is tender again. Then after that you just add in some chopped cherry tomatoes. And I also broke up some pieces of vegetarian mozzarella that I fried with it. And lastly, I just added in some fresh herbs like basil, oregano and thyme, but you could use whatever you like. I'm going for an Italian vibe here, but again, you can do whatever seasoning you prefer. Then take that off the heat for a while and just let it cool until the aubergines are done from the oven. And when they are, take them out. And be careful because the tin foil is really hot. And after that you just stuff the aubergine with the filling that you have prepared from the pan, and I also drizzled some more olive oil and some more seasoning, and then I just took some breadcrumbs and a few slices of cheese on top as well, and into the oven they go again until they have some more colour on them. There's no tin foil on them this time, and this is the finished dish. And it was so tasty. I loved it, and the Italian seasoning came together so beautifully with the tomatoes, and I have found a new love for aubergine after making all of these recipes for sure. But with that said, we should move on to the second recipe, which is the salad. And here I just start by chopping up the aubergine, and then I just season it with some salt and some cumin and also some olive oil in order for them to get a bit of a surface when I then proceed to fry them. Preferably you'd use a grill pan for this, but unfortunately I don't have one, so I'd just had to use a regular frying pan. But if you want those nice little fried lines on them, I do definitely prefer a grill pan. I just didn't have one at hand. And this recipe is so simple because the next thing you do is just make the dressings. It's just some lemon juice and some honey, and then you go on to add in the spices, and here I used cumin and I used some paprika and salt as well, and just finish the dressing off with a drizzle of olive oil, and then I just proceed to shake it. And shake it, and shake it a little bit more, and that is you done. I just served this with some chickpeas and some fresh herbs and some more plum tomatoes, and that again is the finished dish. And it was so tasty and so simple to make, and definitely one of my new favorite recipes in terms of how simple it was to make it. And finally we move on to the third recipe, which is a baked dish. And here you start off with chopping the aubergine. Again, mine was a bit battered this time, but start slicing it into lengthwise slices this time. And preferably you would like an even number of slices. Here I used 5, I think, which was not optimal, but it works, everything works. And again, I also roughly chop up some onion that I'm going to throw in a pan. But first I start off by frying my aubergine. Here again you could use the oven and grill them before if you prefer that. I just think that frying them gives them a bit more of a surface and makes them a bit more crispy, even though aubergine doesn't really get crispy, but I think they're nicer fried. So I just fried them up, and after that I threw the onion into the pan with some olive oil and fried that until it was yellow and tender. And then I add in some diced tomatoes. I also added in some extra water and some more of my fresh spices, just because we have them at hand and I like using them when I do. So just let that simmer for about 5 minutes in order for the spices to really mix well with the tomato sauce. And when the aubergine has cooled down, I just take some soft cheese with garlic and French herbs. So I just take a butter knife and spread it on the aubergines until they're all quite evenly coated, and I am quite generous with the amount here. And then I just pack them up like sandwiches. So when you have your aubergine sandwiches all ready and set to go, and here you see that I didn't have an even number, so I couldn't sandwich them all. And then you start layering with your tomato sauce, your sandwiches, and then finish off again with the rest of the tomato sauce. And I finished this off with some fresh slices of cheese and some more breadcrumbs in order for it to get a bit crispy. And that is the third and final dish. And just for garnish, I put on a little bit of fresh thyme. So here is the finished dish after it has been grilled in the oven for about 10 to 15 minutes maybe. I think that out of all of the three, the Italian spiced stuffed aubergines were my favorite, but this one was also super yummy. You can make them in bulk. You can, instead of using just one aubergine per recipe, you can use a lot more, and then of course that will yield a lot more food. So there's plenty of options. You can swap out ingredients that you don't like. So there's plenty of options. And I hope that you'll at least try some of these recipes now when you see how easy they are. And I like cooking, but I'm not super good at it, and still I could make these without any problem. So I'm sure you guys can too. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up, because that helps this channel out a lot. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already. And have a super duper good one, and I shall see all of you guys in another video. Bye.